Hello, Hollywood Life readers. I am senior reporter Lene Brody. We are getting ready to go live with Kat McNamara. Trying to get this Wi-Fi working today. Thank you for joining us and tuning in. Um, there she is. I'm gonna add her right now. It works. There is nothing like Wi-Fi problems to start your day, right? Says we are connecting. Hi.
Uh, are you?
Can you hear me and see me okay?
You look beautiful. You sound gorgeous.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so first and foremost, tell me about your work with Alcon and let me get this right, the See What Happens campaign. I know you're wearing contacts now, which is new for you. So talk to me about that.
It is. So I never knew I needed vision help until about 2 years ago. I went to the eye doctor for a contact lens fitting for a horror movie I was going to do. And then suddenly I went, well, let me do the eye test because I'm here. I was horrified because I couldn't see very well at all. And I had no idea. So I wore glasses for a while, but obviously with the nature of my job, I can't wear them at work. And so contact lenses were on my to-do list forever. And then during quarantine, I finally got through my to-do list and went, okay, well, as soon as it's safe, I'll go to the eye doctor. And as soon as they open up and talk about lenses. And then this Precision One opportunity came up, and it just turned out that Precision One was actually the perfect lens for me. And so it was so fortuitous and worked out in the best way possible. But I absolutely love these contact lenses. I feel like a superhero because I can actually go about my life and, have a superpower of great vision.
How has it changed your acting? Because now that you can see, I can't imagine what it was like for you not to be able to see maybe fellow actors, or if you had to look down at your script real quick, or, what was that like? So how has it changed for you?
I didn't really notice for a long time because my close up vision is fine. It's my distance vision that isn't great. So I just assumed that everybody was like that. But I know. But what was so great about it is now, especially with doing stunts and especially doing things like that, there's so much precision required for safety that it's opened up an entire new world for me. And even, especially during quarantine when I'm working out at home and I throw Netflix on the TV, I can actually see it a lot better. And, read if I'm watching something, in another language, I can read the subtitles and I can actually figure out what's going on a little better. Because when you're trying to do burpees with glasses, it doesn't really work very well. And I don't need any other excuses to not do burpees. Just saying.
Sure, sure. And what was it like going to the eye doctor during COVID? Because I haven't been to the doctor during COVID. I'm sure people would love to know what that experience was like.
I mean, just, as with all things in life right now, it's all a bit odd. But I'm just so thankful that people are moving forward and finding ways to do things and finding ways to keep life moving forward. It's a lot of stopping and starting as things fog up with between the mask and whatever machine or device that they're using to measure things. But they're medical professionals just like everybody else. So it's all about just maintaining things and keeping it all sanitized and clean and at a social distance as possible, and when not, just wear a mask.
Yeah, and I want to talk about your upcoming projects you have. The Stand is obviously a huge one. What can you tease? Because there's not a ton out there. It's a mini series. It was a book. It was a movie. So what can you tease?
What I can tease is that if you're a Stephen King fan, it's absolutely, it there's something about having a bunch of people that are so inspired by source material and that are so passionate about the source material and are able to take it and bring it to life in such a rich way. It's really amazing that I mean, Stephen King even wrote an alternate ending for it. So there's so many elements that are new, but so many elements that stay true to the original, which I think is kind of the perfect way to bring things to life and to translate from book to screen. And I mean, the cast is incredible. It was such a different experience for me, especially given that I've been playing heroes for so long, and now I'm playing someone who's probably the worst person you could possibly be in the apocalypse and making character choices that make me feel like a gross human being. But, that's part of being an actor. You do things that are similar to yourself and things that are different from yourself, and you're a chameleon, and that's what you do. But it was so much fun, and everyone involved is so incredible. I'm just so thankful, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Did you get to meet the Stephen King?
I did not. I was not on set the days he was there, and that I hope to meet him someday because I'm such a fan. But his spirit was definitely felt throughout the process.
And Shawnee Smith played Julie in the original. So did you touch base with her and ask her for any advice? And if so, what can you share?
I actually didn't have a chance to. I basically went straight from Arrow into this, and it was such a quick process. I I had pink hair for The Stand, and I didn't even know I was going to have pink hair until a couple of days before I had pink hair. So it was one of those things that the schedules just barely worked out, and it's such a great kind of be able to slot in there.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about crazy timing. There are so many parallels between what happened with The Stand and what's actually happening in real life. Did you guys have like some sort of premonition? How crazy is that?
We had no idea, and in fact, talking to several of the cast and crew in the first few months of 2020, we're going, didn't we just shoot this?
Mm-hmm.
But what's great about The Stand is, yes, it's about yes, it's about all of this, but beyond that, it's more about the people and more about sort of what happens to who's left behind and kind of what you go through as a human being and forcing you to choose kind of what you stand for and what does that say about who you are as a and it's really ultimately the choices that you make that create your destiny, and that's kind of the core of this story for all of the characters. And obviously, being Stephen King, every single character is so complex and rich and has so much going on that you just put them all in this absurdist situation. It's brutal and it's very adult and it's very absurd and Stephen King in its at its finest. But I'm so excited for people to see.
Ah, and talk to me a little bit about the cast. It's got a huge cast. Who are you most excited to meet and work with all of those major players?
There's so many folks. I was very thrilled to have some friends on it as well. Like I've known Owen Teague for a long time. I didn't get to work with him directly, but just getting to again. And Nat Wolf and I worked together like 10 years ago, and we kind of get to be partners in crime in this. So it's always fun when you can jump into a creative process with someone that the ice is already broken with. There's so many incredible individuals I got the chance to work with on this. Natalie Martinez was in a lot of my storyline, and obviously I'm in the world of Randall Flagg, so I spent a lot of time in the presence of Alexander Skarsgård doing what he does best. And Alex is just the nicest human being, but also so incredible at what he does. I'm so excited for people to see how he brings this character to life, and I'm sure all of it's true for the rest of the folks that I didn't get a chance to work with. But throughout the process. God, there's so many. Even my first day on set, I'll never forget because I was thrown into the scene with Henry Zaga and Brad William Hankey, and the two of them were so kind because they'd been on the project for a while at that point, and I was brand new, and I got to be really good friends with both of them because we just spent an entire day kind of creating this entrance of the Tinkerbell of the apocalypse, as it were.
And how true to the book will it stay?
It stays pretty true to the book. Obviously with the new ending and as they've sort of expanded the story, Julie's story is a bit different than it is in the book, but I think it only serves the statement that the creators are trying to make with this miniseries and serves sort of the story that we need in 2020 from this source material.
And it is a mini series, but so is Big Little Lies, and they were able to pull off a second season. So is there gonna be hope that when this is a huge success, you guys will be able to do a second season?
I don't know. There's certainly a lot of the story that, is untold in the book that I'm sure they could go back and find a way to do it. I know I wouldn't mind going back and doing it again and working with all those folks, but who even knows? I think, it's like the Arrowverse. Anything is possible in the world of Stephen King.
That's very true. That's very true. You know, and I read somewhere that you said you were arguably in the best shape doing shadow hunters and arrow. So how do you keep up with that shape still? Do you still keep up with it? And talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I do my best. I mean, as with all of us this year, things kind of ebb and flow, but I've always been an athlete. I was a dancer my whole life, and so being physical and being active is such a huge part of who I am, and it's a huge part of not only my physical but my mental health as well. And it's something that has got here is just even being able to go outside and take a walk, or to, I have a stationary bike in my house, being able to jump on that. I built a treadmill the first week of quarantine when the trails were still closed out here in Los Angeles. There's so do even just body weight exercises that you can do to just stay active and stay in shape. Even turn on Spotify and have a dance party in your house. Whatever you sort of get your endorphins going and doing all of that. But I've worked with some trainers on shadow hunters and all of that, and so I've sort of learned, and with their help during this time, sort of learned how to adapt what I do, which is a lot of like high intensity interval training and cardio and things like this that work with my body and the way that my metabolism works, just to feel good. It's not about training for anything right now except just staying happy and healthy.
Yeah. Are you still in that superhero shape? Like if you had to go do a stunt tomorrow, like could you pull it off? Or is it really hard? I mean, I know it's when you're not training for a role, it's really hard to like keep that up.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do miss is boxing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have Bob. I have my quarantine boyfriend who's really kept me, my little boxing dummy Bob, that's kept me sane. But it's different than actually being able to be there with a physical trainer and box. And I'm sure I have some bad habits that I would need to literally beat out of myself. But I wouldn't say I'm necessarily in peak like Mia muscular box shape, but I feel great, and it's one of those things where your body is always changing and your body is always um, adapting to whatever situation you're in. And I'm always of the mind that it's less about how you look and more about how you feel. Every I as a when I was growing up, I never thought would have any modicum of physical strength because I'm a tiny human, and that's just I never thought it was possible. But then through all of this training that I've done and through all of these things that I've been taught, I've learned that the body is capable of so many things that are beyond imagination if you work hard and you train the right way. And so as long as you feel like yourself and you feel like you're your best version of you, I don't think you can go wrong.
Totally. And you also filmed a horror movie during COVID. So what was that like? And you filmed it in 10 days. So did you like that fast-paced move, move, move lifestyle?
Oh, of course. I'm all about it. And at that point in quarantine too, I was craving some sort of, creative outlet, and I miss work. I'm such a workaholic. I love what I do for a living, and just having a chance to jump in and do it again was wonderful. Especially with friends. I made some amazing new friends, and obviously Luke Baines and I are very close from Shadowhunters and before. And Nick Simon, who's our director, has been a dear friend of mine for years. And it was great to finally get to sort of all come together at that point and say, you know what? It's a weird year, but we're going to make the best of it, and we're going to have some kind of creative output. And the experiment paid off, I think. I haven't seen the finished product, but it's such a fun, silly, scary sort of horror comedy. And we're all thrilled that we made a movie. It had this dream, and it somehow all came together.
Right. And I know you got to get going, so I'll just ask you one more question. Julie is a little different than what you played in the past. How is she different? What do you love about her? And if you could replay any character of yours, who would it be and why?
Oh goodness. I mean, all of my characters, they're like my children in a way, because I pour blood and tears into every character. Shadowhunters will always be special to me. And it was sort of my first foray into creating a show from the ground up. And that's all those folks are family to me. So if I were ever able to jump back into that world, I would do it in a heartbeat. If Clary Frey ever has a chance to come back to the screen, I volunteer as tribute. But as far as Julie goes, it was a very odd experience for quite a lot of it because she is I love Julie for how unabashedly herself she is and how she has no inhibitions and no problem putting herself out there and going after what she wants. I think that's probably her only admirable quality. Maybe the fact that she can pull off pink hair, along with the array of other colors. But she is definitely not an example to follow pretty much in any other aspect. Playing a villain, you have to learn to love your character, but it's an experience when you are making character choices that make you feel like a disgusting human being, and just like the worst possible human that you could. But that being said, it all serves a purpose for telling the story and for showing the good, the bad, and the ugly of what these situations can bring out in humanity.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Kat. I'm glad you can see now, which will help you out in the future with your future roles.
Absolutely. I encourage people to go to thelenslovequiz.com because Alcon has this great campaign going on right now where you can enter sweepstakes and you can get, a 5-day free trial of these lenses. But it helps you figure out your lens love style. And that's so important and was so instrumental in my journey with vision. And so I just encourage everyone else to do the same.
Yeah, well, it's so important to see and take care of ourselves despite what's going on in the world right now. So thank you so much for your time and have a good one. Stay safe.
So, bye-bye.
Bye.